joining us. And it's also being recorded. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for listening in. For those that are listening in at a later time, we have some live attendees, and the guest of the hour today is Charles Clark from BOMA. Welcome, Charles.
Hi, Katrina. Thanks so much for having me. Great to be in the community again.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. We've done a couple of webinars and some power hours in the past. So if you're interested in having a look at social media, and I think we did one on effective websites, where we did show websites on the screen. That's inside the Facebook group. So you'll be able to find those if you search for the Power Hour. And today that we're talking about all about what you should be doing before to get your business ready before you launch onto social media. So there's a few topics and points today that we're going to cover off. Feel free to show your video for those that are attending. That would be great to see your happy faces. And we're going to ask questions. This is going to be quite interactive and engaging. So we'd love to get questions from the audience, from those that are watching. And I'd also love for each of you that are on the Zoom meeting today, if you could jump onto that link that Lou has popped up there for the Facebook. So that is the Facebook live stream. So I'm going to click onto it and it's probably going to go off. So we're going to hear ourselves twice. No, it's behaving. Good. So inside of that Facebook stream, I'd love for you to put some comments down over there. I'm going to ask you some questions throughout the session. And if you're watching live, if you put #live with the comment, and if you are watching this as a replay, then put #replay so that we get an idea of who we are answering on the call straight away, and that we can search back and go back and answer your questions or make comments and help you with your problems that you're having. If you've got #replay, we can see those that we need to support along the way. And Charles will also look into that Facebook group after the call and help out with any questions as well. So has everybody got hold of that link? Are they all in the Facebook? We've got half a dozen people on the call. Yeah, great. Please feel free to show your videos. I've got a few people on the call that haven't got videos. Love to see your faces. Okay, let's get started. So let's just pop into the Facebook group. Are you ready to get going? And let's just put good to go over in the Facebook group, just so to make sure that everyone's got the right link in the right place. Let me know if you're all good to go. If you could just type in over there for me, that would be appreciated. Yay! It works. Awesome. Thanks, Alison. Okay, so we are also going to offer the opportunity if somebody does have a social media page that they would like Charles to have a look at. So Alison, do you have a social media page that you might like to bring up later? Yeah, okay, so you might like it audited. That'd be great. We'll get you to pop that link into the Successful Bookkeeper group too when we have a look at that. So if you want to get yourself set up for that. And anybody else that wants to have their social media page looked at, reviewed, jump into the Facebook group and just say, yes, please. And we will have a look at the links over there. We'll call you up, we'll show the shared screen, and we'll have a look at those, what you're doing currently in social media. But I guess to get us started, let's have a discussion about what it is that we need to do before we do start social media and the different things that we're going to go through. So Charles, is there something that you would recommend before people actually get started in putting up a social media page?
Yeah, look, I think the great thing is that if you're considering going social, which I think is a great thing to be doing, especially in this environment. You do want to have, you know, your ducks in a row a bit, because it's obviously, it is a commitment a little bit on your time. So you don't want to sort of get halfway through sort of either setting up your accounts or kind of being active and then realize that you haven't sort of got everything that you need to do planned. And so I suppose it's a little bit like working on the books. You want to make sure that you have all the information you need ahead of time if possible, and then it'll just make your experience a whole lot easier. And I think one of the things that Katrina and I were chatting about before was obviously a great place to start is your brand. You know, and I'm sure probably a lot of you might already have one, but maybe if we think about a brand more widely, because a lot of people, when they think about a brand, it's sort of, they think about their business name and their logo. And it is obviously a great place to start, but I think what I want you to sort of encourage you to do is to think about your brand in a slightly different way. And especially since we're talking about social, if you think about your brand as a way for you to connect with people, especially your clients and your prospects. And it's really, you know, a brand is something that's going to be authentic to you, and making an authentic connection with your targets, so target clients or target prospects, is really going to make a difference, because what it really helps you do is that it's going to help you stand out from other people, because part of your brand will sort of help, I suppose, convey why you exist, what differentiates you from other people. You know, why should people care about you and what you do? And a brand and a brand proposition is something that can really help. And obviously a brand, a lot of it is visual, and obviously we'll be thinking about that today on the social side of things, but there are elements of a brand which isn't visual, and it's more about messaging and sort of what you stand for. And I think we were talking about, you know, your values, and I think that's a really important thing to do. So if you have that definition, and even if it's just something that you know, and you've sort of written down, and probably for your business it's a good thing to do, if you have your values written down, then they can start to come through in your brand and on your website and on your social media pages, because your values start to define what you care about, what you want to talk about, the way you engage with people, the tone of voice that you use. And sort of further on from that, it will come through visually. So when you're thinking about the colors that you want to use, how, you know, the imagery that you want to use, especially on social, which is so important, you know, having those values sort of clear in your mind is really important, and it's going to help you in the longer term, because if you have a clear identity and a clear value proposition, then, you know, as you know, the weeks turn into months and longer, you'll be able to sort of always refer back to what it is that you stand for, what your brand identity is, and that's going to sort of help guide you. You know, I suppose give you some guardrails, that so that you don't kind of necessarily wander outside of them, which might be a bit jarring for the people who are following you. So yeah, brand identity is really important. And I'm sure when we look at some of the pages later on, we'll see some interesting examples, some obviously hopefully really nice examples of how you guys have brought that to life.
Yeah, let's have a look at a few in a little while, but I just want to talk about the branding and even the values. For those of you that are on the call and are listening in, can you pop down in the comments on the Facebook link, on the Facebook stream, do you have branding at the moment? So do you identify with a certain, you know, branding strategy? It could be a simple yes, no answer to that. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see, you know, what work that you have put into it. So Alison, that's great that you have, and we'll look at your page in a minute. For those that others are on the call, Tanya, do you have a social media presence? If you pop it into the Facebook Live, is that a yes or a, yeah, you do, yeah, okay. You're welcome to come off mute if you like. Or, you know, jump over to the Facebook and stream and add your comments there. Do you have a branding strategy? You come off mute if you like, or you can.
But she's,
I have a client that I sort of do a bit of a contra with. So she does my marketing and Facebook whatnot, and I do her bookkeeping.
Awesome. Okay, so you're well aware of you know, what's involved, and you know somebody else is managing that, so you know that you've got the consistency.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Irene and Maurice, Rachel, would you like to jump over to the Facebook and put down whether you have branding or not? Just a yes or no. I'd also, like, when we think of businesses that actually have branding, love for you to give examples over on the Facebook stream. What are examples of businesses that do branding well? Can you think of any that are they have a great branding strategy?
I think while we're doing that, I think when Katrina talks about sort of a branding strategy, it's hard to know kind of what that means. But I think one thing that it's quite useful to think about is that if you think about your ideal client, and you may have some clients already that you have that you'd be like, oh, that's my ideal client and I would love more of those. And then you could sort of think, okay, well, you know, what are the key drivers for them? What's the day in the life of that sort of person, you know, sort of their motivations, goals, fears, desires, especially from a business perspective. Because then you could think, okay, well, if my ideal client, you know, is a retailer, or maybe they're a tradie or a small business or a larger business, it can help you make the sort of branding decisions in terms of everything from what your logo might look like, the colors you might want to use, and sort of so forth into your website and social, because you obviously want your branding to appeal to that sort of ideal client. So if, say, you were going after, say, retailers, and you had sort of a very, maybe a very sort of stern colors, and it was very serious in terms of the language you used, they might just feel that actually this feels a bit sort of old fashioned for me, and sort of I want someone a bit more vibrant. And although obviously if you met them, you know, you might have the chance to convince them that you are all those things that they're looking for, when they come onto your social pages, when they come onto your website, in less than a second, they're going to see, you know, your logo, your imagery, your colors, that key messaging that you've got out there, and they will very quickly make a decision. You know, do they feel that connection that you know, that they might be able to develop with you? So even if it's a referral, people will still go and check out your social pages, your website, to get a sense of, you know, who you are. And so it's really important that both your branding is authentic to who you are, but also that it kind of reflects you and who you're trying to attract. Yeah, so I just thought I'd mention kind of how you tied in, and you know, even though, as I said, you might have the chance to speak with them, a lot of people may, if they don't like what they see on your various sort of social and website channels, that may just be something that sort of prevents them from picking up the phone and calling you. So yeah, one way to think about it.
Mm. And there's I guess there's a lot of businesses in our industry that, you know, especially around branding colors, you know, the bright blue of Xero and the green of QuickBooks, and the purple. We all know the purple for MYOB. So, you know, the branding and the imagery. I know with Xero, there's got a lot of not really comic, but what would you call the Xero? The pictures. They're not real people. They're just images. They're just
sort of illustrations. Yeah.
Yeah, illustrations. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can identify. You can quickly pick up who the business is, what the brand is, just from some of those things around the way that you present any of your imagery.
Yeah, I think actually that's a great point, because even sort of more so than the brand, if your website is full of a certain type of person or people, then that will tell the reader who you're after. So if it's sort of it's hard hats and construction people, that might be perfect if that's your ideal client. But if your ideal client is you know, sort of hospitality, then they might be thinking, oh, hold on. So, you know, Alison is an expert in trade and construction, obviously not hospitality. So, you know, that doesn't mean that you can't have more than one. You know, you can have different have different people on there, and you can sort of associate them with different, maybe different ways that you work together. So you could have little testimonials or case studies, and you can specify, hey, look, I work in these areas. So it doesn't have to limit you at all. But I think it is important to, to be clear about who you'd love to work with. And if it's a range of people, that's absolutely fine as well. You can very much make your social activity and your website appeal to a wider range of people, or you can make it more niche. And that's really up to you in terms of thinking about, what your ideal client is, who you want more of, and who you'd like to target. And I think actually quite a lot of what we're talking about now when it comes to the strategy and the content that you might be posting, I think that's also something to keep in mind for the future, because obviously what you want to be sending out should be hopefully relevant to your audience and your clients. So again, if you're sort of going broad, that's absolutely fine. You can do either generally broad sorts of content, or you can sort of go broad and say, okay, occasionally I will focus on different industries. Or if you're going really niche, that's fine. You can just always be super specific to a target market or a niche that you want to target. But just good to have that in mind. And I'll actually later on, I've got a few resources to share, and one of them is a content planner. And that basically is it's a Google Doc which you can download, and it basically you could sort of put in there, what am I going to share, who it might be relevant to, and you could sort of plot out what a month might look like.
Yeah, and they're going to be great resources. We've also got some things from BOMA inside of the Pure Bookkeeping PB Central as well, under the digital marketing space. There's a social media space in there that's got some resources, and we've also got an area where we do talk about business identity inside the Pure Bookkeeping system, which is, part of identifying, what we're talking about here, and putting in your values, and identifying what your business stands for and your mission statement and all of those. So I think having some type of marketing strategy before you go full belt into marketing, about understanding the business that you are and the purpose that you are here, working through your vision and your mission, so that you can actually talk about that in your strategy, in your copy that you're doing, as we've spoken about. You could Google for values as well. If you don't actually have a set of 5 or 6 values, you can Google for a good values list of values. You'll come up with like 100 different words for values, and it's a good exercise to do that. We actually did that inside of the Pure Bookkeeping team last year. We all got together and worked through what our values were. So we brainstormed what our words were, and come down to a short list, and then discuss them again. So it's easy to get a list of 50 or 100 off the website, just to work your way through that. So if we're going to move on to setting goals around our social media planning and planning it out, where's a good place to start, Charles, in working out which platform to go to, how often do I need to do it, what do I need to do? So what do we need to do before we get to actually posting something on Facebook?
Sure. Well, I think a good place to start is to decide where you think your clients or ideal clients are going to be. So there's obviously, there's the 4 main platforms, so Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. There's, there are other platforms, TikTok and sort of, I've forgotten, it begins with P, but there's hundreds of other small, yes, exactly, Pinterest. There are sort of hundreds of other ones. And if you sort of know, and this might be from asking your clients or sort of from doing a little bit of informal research, if you know that they're on a particular social network, maybe it's LinkedIn or maybe it's Facebook, it makes sense to start there. What I wouldn't recommend doing is sort of saying that you're going to be everywhere and then you spread yourself too thin. And also, if your clients aren't on all those networks, you're just going to be shouting into the ether, because there's no one really that you want is going to be listening. So yeah, first off, know where they might be, and you can ask your clients or sort of just, as I said, even if there are some people that you'd like to have as a client, go onto their website and see what social networks they're posting a lot on. So that's quite a good way. If you're not sort of feeling confident to ask them directly because they're not a client, go and see where they spend a bit of their time. And then I'd recommend that you note those down and say, great, it's going to be, for me, it's going to be LinkedIn and Facebook. Because those are the two, I suppose, key ones for business and for Facebook in terms of for a lot of people in terms of where they spend their time. So once you've sort of got your idea of like, great, it's going to be this, 1 or 2 networks, you will need to make sure that you have the collateral as well. So making sure that you have your brand is the right size to sort of be shown on your profile. Make sure that you have, again, some collateral that you can have in your hero sort of profile page. So LinkedIn and Facebook do have specific sizes that it can't be any larger, and there's sort of the profile is usually sort of quite round or small, or sort of small square, and then the larger one is sort of a rectangle. So think about the image that you want to show. Obviously, the small one is usually your brand, or at least kind of a key. It's like either your business name, or like for BOMA, we often have B if it's a really small sort of profile section. And then think about that hero image. What is it that you want to show? And it doesn't just have to be an image. You can have text in there. So it could be a testimonial, or it could be your values that we've just been talking about, or it could be just a really nice graphic sort of displaying what it is that you do. So that's sort of one thing to think about. Obviously, you want to have your profile set up. So when you're going to set up your pages, or if you have them already, just go and recheck that your profile is completely up to date. So if you think of your social profiles as your sort of second website, so it can tell people when you're open, it can tell people your address if you have an office, it can give people your phone number, all this information that can be there. And it's just another great opportunity to let people know how they can get in contact with you. You can also have your email there, your website, and any other information like your about. So, hi, I'm XYZ Bookkeepers. I'm based in Auckland, and this is what I do, and this is who I work with. So all great opportunities for you to sort of tell the reader exactly who it is that you are, how they can contact you, and a bit of information about you. So once you've sort of got those profiles set up, then you need to sort of think about, okay, on a regular basis, how much time am I going to put into this? Because, obviously, I think Tanya, you were saying that you have someone who does it for you, which is great. Other people may have that as well, or you might be looking after it yourself. So, I suppose even if it's that you're paying someone else to do it, it is, you don't necessarily want to be paying too much. So there are obviously scarce resources in terms of investing in it. So good to think, okay, what would be the ideal amount of time, whether it's me or someone else posting, that I can commit to? And so maybe success, and it will differ per person, maybe success is that you post once a week across both your channels, and that's fantastic. There's nothing worse than sort of starting out with 10 posts in the first week and then being overwhelmed because you haven't done your other work, and then it's crickets and you sort of never touch it again. So think about what it is that you can commit to. And it's not just saying that you're going to post someone, you also have to come up with content. You have to come up with maybe an image. So, the one post is actually, it might be 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes that go into that, because you need to sort of sort out those things. So think about what you can commit to, think about those channels. It doesn't, in terms of content, just have to be always a link to your website. There's lots of different things that you can share when it comes to content. And I've actually got a list here, and it's quite a long one. So if you just bear with me, and I'm just going to open a sheet that has, I listed them all out before, just so I didn't forget any. Oh, 1 second. Oh, okay. So in terms of what you can share, lots of things. So you can send out reminders to clients, or even if they're not clients, you can send out reminders to people that, hey, an important date is coming up, and even if it's not necessarily, and I know obviously lots of dates are accounting dates, like BAS reminders or stuff like that, but maybe that's something that you can just sort of let people know, because you're out there trying to help people. There's going to be news. So news that maybe is directly affecting the bookkeeping industry, and by sort of preference your clients. Maybe it's something, changes in the industry. So if there are changes that to, rules or regulations, or, there's obviously a lot of things happening with COVID. Maybe it's things like that that might be of interest to clients or potential clients. Maybe it's an event you're going to, or maybe it's an event you're holding. I mean, that's another thing. I know a lot of accountants and bookkeepers in the last, since COVID popped up, have started to do events online. And so whether that's you attending an event and sort of speaking to maybe an association in your local area, or maybe it's you hosting an event, and this could be anything from a Q&A, or it could be sort of, once a month or once a week, you sort of get on, and it could be with your clients. And so it's just an informal thing only with your clients. So it's kind of a private group. Or it could be that you open it up a little bit wider and you speak to a slightly wider group of people about things that obviously, you can support them with, but ideally you're trying to help them. So that's obviously always what you're trying to do, is offer value, show your expertise, build that relationship, build that trust, with the understanding that, by doing that, you're going to improve the chances that they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, I really like, your blogs or your emails, or that event I saw you speak at. I've been looking to change bookkeepers, or I'd like to get one. And, and because of the fact that I have seen you in action a little bit, I'd like to start that conversation. There's also other things you can do in terms of sharing. So it could be that you are posting about successes that you have had personally, or maybe that your clients have had. That's always a good one. So, maybe a client has had a win, or they've won an award somewhere. I mean, a great way to not only show your clients that you're interested in their business, but also to sort of show other users out there, or other readers out there, potential clients, that, hey, look, I work in these areas, I'm interested in my clients, I care. So lots of different things that you can share. Once you're sort of into sharing them, do think about the format. So you can obviously share anything from a video to a link, or it could just be an image with a little bit of text around it. Having a bit of a variety is good. Hopefully also that means that it's a little bit easier for you to think of ideas. So if one day you might share some interesting news, another day it might be a video you've seen, another day it might be an image that you've taken on the way into work, being like, what a lovely day, or what a crappy day, thank God it's Friday, let's all take the weekend to recover for next week. And that kind of also, that sort of, I suppose, personal element then does to sort of go to show your personality, because obviously none of us are robots, and your clients are working with you personally. So, showing a bit of your personality, your flair, I think is important on social. I think when it comes to the different networks, one has to be a little bit cognizant of the fact that some networks showing personality is great, like Facebook and Instagram, show pictures of, birthday parties and pets and sort of all sorts of sort of slightly informal things. On LinkedIn, obviously it's a much more professional network. So I would restrict that to kind of more information, insight, commentary, things that are really going to benefit them. And I would sort of keep those more sort of uniquely personal things to the other networks. Oh, and I suppose that also goes a little bit for tone of voice. Again, on sort of Facebook and Instagram, you can be more informal. LinkedIn, again, you'd want to sort of be more professional. Oh, in terms of content, and I think this was something that Katrina and I were talking about as well earlier, quality over quantity is always important. So again, that sort of comes down to how often you feel you can post, but don't feel that you have to sort of post something all the time, and then you get to the point where, for whatever reason, you either can't, you can't think of something today, or there's nothing particularly that you want to share. Don't feel that you have to go out there and say something, because better to sort of say something that's funny or interesting or insightful, and sort of keep the content and your social posts relevant and interesting, rather than sort of just always saying, well, look, I said I was going to do 3 a week, and so you know, come what may, I'm going to do 3 a week, and you end up that one of your posts or 2 of your posts is sort of a little bit less interesting. And the reason we encourage that is you want your clients or your prospects to always look forward to your posts. So always look forward to say, oh, look, you know, Irene's posts are always funny, they're always interesting. And I'm not going to sort of unfollow because there's also a lot of boring stuff in there as well. So quality over quantity is always a good thing. And that hopefully might then help you set the cadence that you might want to follow.
Yeah, that's a lot of great advice there. I'd love to hear from the audience if you could pop into the Facebook group, jump over to the Facebook group, the live stream, and post in there. What is the one thing that you're going to use? What have you got away from, you know, a lot of what Charles has said? What is the one action that you're going to do around, you know, what he's done? What's something that you've seen as a value from what he's just said? And I'm going to open up Alison's Facebook page and share it, and we'll talk through that just as you're making those comments over there on the Facebook. Let me just share my screen. So Alison, this is your Facebook page? Yep. Awesome. So looking at that, Charles, you might have some, it looks pretty good actually. It looks very neat.
And Alison, I can see you're a BOMA user.
I am.
Fantastic.
Perfect. This is awesome.
Yeah, so if we just sort of go down from the top, what I immediately liked when I first saw it is that you've got a really good hero image that we talked about. And in that hero image, you're talking about sort of what is it, what is it, you know, why should people consider you? And sort of speaking directly to the client, which is, you know, every good business needs a bookkeeper. And that's a really simple and elegant way to communicate what it is that you do, but also why they should choose you, and why it's important that they have a bookkeeper. You've got the different logo in that little circular element. If you go into the About section, you've got all the pertinent information in terms of, we've got your email address, your About section, a nice amount of people following you, which is lovely. They can send a message. So really nice use of all the right items there. And then regular content, which is nice as well. I know that sometimes it's, if you sort of put stuff out onto social and you think, oh, where are my vanity metrics? So only one person liked that, or only one person shared that. And, you know, you sort of look at things and think, oh, I want to be like those influencers where 50 people do it. I think there used to be a big part of social that was about that. But now it's much less important really how many people liked it, and it's much more important that you're giving them the information. And, you know, a lot of people will be seeing this, and you know, just because they haven't liked on it doesn't mean they haven't got value from it, doesn't mean they haven't then said, okay, you know, this is a good place for me to come, and actually I might then go onto the website and have a look. So the nice thing here is that there's a nice mixture of articles. There's also like this one here behind where you've got your image, and I've seen a couple of those going forward. It's nice to sort of break it up with those images as well, where you sort of can communicate visually an idea or a concept, which is quite a nice way to do it. Especially actually if you're ever on Instagram, I'm not sure if you are, which is much more visual than LinkedIn or Facebook. Oftentimes having those images with text, so even if someone doesn't necessarily click into the individual image, if they look at your entire page, they will get sort of the key takeouts of who you are, what you do, how you work with your clients. And that's a great one there, super guarantee rate rise. So a really nice way to share. That's from tax office information that would be really relevant. The only thing I would have added to some of these is to maybe have like this one here, you've got the calls to action. So give you a call, visit. You might want to add a hashtag to those. So hashtags, if you're not familiar, are basically a way for I suppose, Facebook and the other social channels to index posts, and then it helps people search for them. So all of these could have a hashtag for BookkeeperX, and then they could have a hashtag for superannuation or cash flow or things like that. And that just means that your posts, when people search for that term, they're going to be elevated up into the search. And the great thing about social search is that it also impacts your Google SEO. So if you have if someone on Google basically searches for some things and you've got those hashtags in there, well, and there we do, yeah, Easter long weekend chocolate, that's great. And I really like the idea that it's not always business. You can have the ability to sort of be that sort of more personal element, celebrate milestones, holidays, sort of big events that are going.
Alison, did you want to come off mute? Did you want to just chat through your Facebook, who does this? Do you have a service that does it? And if you've got any questions that you need answering.
So I do that. Everything you've seen there, I've done.
Wow.
I was outsourcing it. So I think from about there downwards, I was outsourcing it. And I can honestly say I had zero return. And it cost me about $5,500 over 8 months. So it's absolutely zero return whatsoever. I was really disappointed in that. I've done it myself and then I've outsourced it, and now I've just decided I'm going to do it myself. Since I found BOMA, I'm loving BOMA. So it's not all BOMA. I try to share this or the ATO. I love the posts, the personal posts. There's a few more down. I haven't done a couple for a while actually, but one of the best posts I ever had was when I opened a new office. I took a photo of the front door, the bright red door, and said, look, what's behind this door. I'm so excited to share it with you. And it beat any other post that was on here. And a post I did recently I think it was only on LinkedIn. Oh, there you go. There's a pack of these ones do better than any other, the personalized ones. Not so much on that one. I think I did it twice. There you go. Yeah. Customers bringing me jam. Yeah. They love it. And I love sharing that kind of stuff.
Have you thought of doing any little videos in here?
I absolutely have thought about it.
And
thought a lot about it. And I just really haven't. I just haven't dedicated the time to actually doing it. Yeah. But I'm at that stage where I need to commit to that plan. So hearing that I don't have to post all the time is awesome. Yeah. And setting that, okay, can only be two times a week to the different channels. So I do Instagram as well. Yeah. I
was going to ask Charles, does he have any tips for videos that might help Alison get started?
Yeah. So look, I think luckily, 15 years ago, if you'd seen a video, I would have said, great, have you got $10,000? We'll go and make you a sort of a custom video. Now with cell phones and webcams, it's, you have all the tools right in front of you, but also people expect that if you're just going to do sort of a post and an update, it doesn't have to be broadcast quality, with like perfect sound, perfect everything. What they really want to hear is, what you have to say and make that connection. So if you've got a good recent smartphone, that's a great place to start, or a webcam. And my webcam is just the one that came with my laptop. It's okay. If you're doing a lot of sort of video, I know a lot of people who do a lot of webinars, they actually have they buy a webcam, for maybe $50 to $100, and that's okay as well. The nice thing is that with the software out there, so like Zoom is a good one. Loom is also great for doing short videos. You can create a video, hold your cell phone in front of you, or just sort of do it at the desk, and you can speak about anything. So it might be that you're out and about and you're doing something, or you've just met with a client, or you're at a client's place of work, or you might be talking about something that you want to tell your client. So, hey, I've got some exciting news. Whatever it comes up, and they only need to be a minute or two long. So you don't need to then worry about saying, oh gosh, you know, what do I say for 5-10 minutes? In fact, 30-40 seconds is perfect. So you can have your message, you can have sort of the key takeaway, and you can pop it on there. And because it's so snackable, it's really likely that your client will sit through 30-40 seconds, you know, or you say your client or your leads. Whereas, you know, if you ask them to sit through 5 minutes, probably unlikely. And they can tell how long it is because they'll be able to see on the bottom how long the video is. So they're like, okay, it's just 30-40 seconds. That's fine. That's not a big investment of my time. Some tips for recording video. So always good to have a light. And I'll just, if you can see this here, I've got sort of, yeah, I've got a light because the light in my room isn't great. So if you sort of have a diffused light that you can have nearby, laptop is probably fine in terms of the microphone. Think about what it is that you want to say. And this might be that you just jot down on a piece of paper, hi, you know, I'm going to welcome everyone. I'm going to say 2 or 3 points, and then I'm going to sort of do a call to action. You know, if there is a call to action, the call to action might be call me, or maybe it's just like, have a great day and look forward to seeing you again soon. You can then post that to any of your channels. If you want to, you can you can bookend it with your brand. So at BOMA, we quite often bookend our videos, or at least our webinars. And it's just sort of 3 or 4 seconds at the beginning or the end, and it just has our brand and our logo. And they're really easy to kind of, if you're using Loom, just to kind of drag and drop that little file onto the end of your, onto your video or at the beginning. And it's just quite nice because it just sort of cements you and the brand together, and is quite a nice way to end or start a video. And all the software like Zoom, I'm on the free version. And sure, that does mean that I can't do hundreds of videos a year, but I think I can do 10 or 15 a month or a week free, and that's absolutely fine.
And Loom is free as well for the first 5 minutes. Yeah.
So video is really important. The nice thing about video is that you could also use it in your email. So if you wanted to record something and then you wanted to send it out to your clients, and it could be like, you know, and in the subject line could be like, hey, watch this video, 5 minutes on X. And then instead of having to write the email, because sometimes, you know, talking about a subject you might find easier than necessarily writing it out. So you could just record something and send it out to them. And then, you know, they can watch it on the way home from work. They can watch it sort of as they're watching TV, as we all seem to do these days. Lots of different ways that they can consume that. And again, because it's video, you're coming across as a person. They can hear your personality, you know, everything about you. They start to get a sense of who they are. And so it's a really nice way to do it. I think the last time I checked the stats, video is 3 times more effective than just a straight sort of text post. So, you know, we know it's a bit of it can be an imposition to do video, but if you have the chance to do a bit of video, it can be quite effective on your social.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. Let's have a look at Tanya's. Are you good for us to show yours, Tanya? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just share my screen again. There we go. So this is nice and fresh. And Tanya, if you want to come off mute and just talk through so you mentioned somebody's doing this for you.
Yeah, so I conjure a client. So basically I do her bookkeeping. She does my marketing for me. Is probably the most cost-effective way to do it. So yeah, I've actually asked her to put a hold on a lot of my marketing because I don't have capacity to take on any clients. But yeah, generally what we do is just sort of get together and every now and then and sort of go, what do we need to do, or you know, what's current issues there are, and yeah, and then she goes off and does most of the herself, and then schedules a month's worth of posts to come out and that sort of thing. But yeah, in regards to my branding, we sat down and I already had a brand previous with the company name, and we just refreshed that, so it's sort of encompass sort of more what my business was about and what I loved about cloud bookkeeping and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I love your logo and the name. It's just very it's right on point, isn't it, with the cloud bookkeeping and
yeah
on it. Yeah.
And I really like those the sort of messages of wisdom, or are really nice just to, as people scroll through, there's just and it's nice. There's not sort of, they're not everywhere, but there are just some nice kind of key little sayings in there that sort of would work well on all the different channels, and just sort of help break it up a bit. And that's really nice as well. So you've also got the where people have sort of sent you things. So yeah, I mean, it's a really nice job there. And so they've obviously used a filter on that one, which is quite cool. So no, I mean, your friends definitely, or your clients definitely doing a great job. I think the other thing I would say is I don't see, and maybe it's because haven't clicked on see more, but I haven't seen many hashtags. Might be the only.
Yeah, no, I haven't got into the whole hashtag thing yet, but I do need to do that. But as I said, at the moment, my marketing is just on the back burner because I've got to the point now where I'm at full capacity, so I'm not really doing any marketing at the moment just because I don't have time, and I'm not branching out any further.
Yeah.
But I guess with my marketing, probably what I want to do is do maybe an idea was to do sort of a client in focus sort of week or month where I can help promote my clients' businesses as well through my page.
That's a great idea. Really like that.
Love
Yeah,
that.
because it does two things. Obviously promotes them, but also promotes you as a secondary element. One thing I would just mention, and I completely hear you when it comes to feeling like you're at capacity, and in terms of sort of taking on new clients. One trend I've definitely seen in the last, since COVID, is the sort of the expectations of clients from their accountants and bookkeepers. And pre-COVID, it was all about professionalism and expertise and sort of delivery. And now that sort of the impact that we're all feeling on COVID, and it's all really about, has changed, and it's all about communication. So communicating to your clients, doesn't need to be sort of focused on new clients. It's just like with your regular clients, these are the updates. This is kind of what's happening out there. And I suppose it's support and educate. And I'm not saying that's necessarily an easy thing to do when you're already at capacity, but just something to sort of to ponder, because marketing is not always about sales. It's also about supporting your current clients. And I had a conversation with a bookkeeper, must have been about 6 weeks ago, and she, funnily enough, had demoed BOMA. She'd seen us at XeroCon a few years back and had demoed it, and then had thought, well, look, actually, I'm at sort of at capacity. She lost half her clients during COVID, and so she suddenly was in the position of having to market herself. So she, it was just an interesting thing, and I'm not suggesting at all that that's sort of on the cards, but it was just an interesting, conversation, because it's very uncertain, the times we live in for every business. And so supporting clients is obviously important, and then you never know what might happen in the future. So you've got a strong online presence, which is great. So I don't think you sort of need to do any more. I suppose the only tip I would say is your clients probably or may need a bit of supporting as well, and obviously marketing could do that. And when I say marketing, I'm talking about the occasional email newsletter, which you may or may not do, but that could sort of have information in it which might be relevant for them, or sort of things come out in the news or from sort of government packages. Again, that's just something that that might be interesting for them. Again, as you say, it is a time factor, and this is all a little bit time based.
Yeah, it's the nurturing of not just your prospects, but also your current clients as well. So, they, as you say, the points there on your page and emails out about information, relevant information that they can click into. They might not always you're not always looking for a client, but you're providing more information, so it keeps them stickier to you and to your the social media outlet and your conversation. So it's just opening up some more communication as well. I mean, there might be things there that they don't realize that they can access, like any type of grants that you're putting up on your Facebook page, letting them know Queensland have these grants. If you need to know more, contact me. So it's providing current clients with ideas and times to reach out to you as well. And I really love the idea of promoting your own clients on your group, on your Facebook page, so that other clients can access their services. Like, keep it all in the same community. I love that idea. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'd love to get some feedback and get your takeaways of what you've got out of the session today so far. If you want to jump over to the Facebook stream and just pop in there, what are some of the takeaways? What have you learnt today on the call? What's some of the biggest things that have made an impact to you today? And Lisa, I know you're on the call, or one of the others on the call. Is there another Facebook group or page that you want to share? Or Lisa, do you have some questions? I know we were talking just before about marketing and how to start, so I invited you to join today. So did you have some questions around that marketing that Charles might be able to assist with, or has this helped you?
Yeah, no, it certainly has been helpful. So thank you, even though I've missed the first maybe 10 minutes of it. But I just wondered with LinkedIn, if your client base is more tradies in that, is that a good avenue to go? Or what would you suggest? Just most of my audience, or most of my clients in the area are tradies generally. So just wondered.
I missed it. Is it worth spending time on LinkedIn if most of your clients are tradies?
Yeah.
So we did sort of deal with that a little bit at the beginning. So do you know if your clients are on LinkedIn?
I don't think they are, but I haven't exactly asked them. Not many of them, no.
Because what sort of age are the traders?
Oh, they're probably 40s onwards.
Okay, so they're not necessarily younger. So they might have their own trade business, or well, look, I think as a plus 40-year-old myself, I definitely think LinkedIn is possibly a good bet. You would probably have to, I would suggest, either asking them or doing a little bit of informal research. Go, if you have their names of their businesses, or obviously you've got their names, you can go and check out if they are and if they're active. Facebook is probably a good bet, just because given that age group, lots of sort of over 40s are still using Facebook. If they were younger, sort of in their 20s, I might have suggested, TikTok or Instagram or something like that. But again, I'm sort of making blanket suggestions. A good place to start is, again, just to ask them, where do you spend your time on social media? Because you don't want to be where they're not. As Tanya sort of said, you've only got so much time, so make sure that you're only investing in the channels where they are, or at least your ideal client is going to be spending their time.
Yeah. I would do some what is it that you search them up. So yeah, searching their names in LinkedIn, even searching their names in Facebook, and have a look at how active they are. If they've got a dead account that has just got one image that was born in 2019, then they might not be on Facebook. But if you can see likes, things that they've shared, or even their birthday on their timelines, and everyone commenting on it, you get an idea that they are active on Facebook. So I'd start with doing a bit of research, a bit of intel. The printer's going off. So that's a good place to find out exactly where they are before you start a marketing strategy, and heading off to LinkedIn when tradies, they may not be looking through there. Maybe some of the bigger building businesses could be on LinkedIn, and that could be valuable. But I think you'll find pretty quickly that the Facebook might be the most suitable place for them to be. But yeah, as Charles said, you don't know until you check it out.
Actually, just something further to add on that. One thing we haven't touched on is groups, and obviously we're in a group right now, and I'm in a few groups on LinkedIn and Facebook, and they actually can be a great way to sort of to join a conversation. And so you know, if there are trade groups in your example, Lisa, maybe you can join them, or maybe you can sort of comment or sort of like things that they're like, you know, commenting on. That just might be another way for you to see who's there, maybe start a conversation, or at least sort of post something. So a classic, I suppose a classic strategy here might be that you're in a group and you don't sort of immediately come out and say, hi, I'm Lisa, I'm your bookkeeper, because who's Lisa? They've never heard of you. So you might sort of slowly sort of build up your sort of your personality in the group, build up sort of the way that you comment on things, give some insight, give something that's going to be of value to them. And if you're sort of the person in that group, because there may not be anyone else in that group who can comment on things the way that you can. So if you're sort of adding value, they'll be like, oh my goodness, you know, Lisa, she knows about this sort of stuff. And then you can start to share stuff like, hey, I've just got something on my blog, or I've just posted something, why don't you come and check it out? Or you know, I've just got this downloadable, you know, insert, you know, it could be like a lead magnet, or it could be something on Google Docs that they can sort of go in and check out that might help them sort of with their business. All great ways to sort of just drive that interest, drive that traffic to your site, make them aware of you, and to sort of start that conversation. If you do a lead magnet, you could always do a lead capture. So, you know, in exchange for the email address and maybe phone number, you know, they get the piece of valuable content. So different ways to insert yourself into those groups, but I would always lead with value and help, rather than just sort of sales, because, you know, you'll get to sales later on, but you want to start off building those relationships and demonstrating that expertise first.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of tradies groups that you can join. Yeah. And give value to them. You can, if you are looking into your current clients, the tradies, searching on their Facebook profiles, have a look at the groups that they're in and people that are they following. So you sort of, you know, go in and, you know, research if they are on LinkedIn, what groups are they following on LinkedIn, or what pages are they following as well. So you get an idea of, you know, where they are and what they're doing, and you just go feed through that way. Have you got a page, a Facebook page?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so just keep, you know, posting on that once or twice a week. As you know, you've got some examples of what some of the other businesses are doing. So
yeah, they look great. Yeah,
yeah, they do look really good. So
they've done very well. Yeah, good on you girls.
And of course, yeah, of course, jump onto the PB Central, the business identity in there, and there's a bit about social media. So BOMA's got some presence on there, some free resources there as well. So
yeah, and I'll post into the group some of those resources afterwards, after this call is finished.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great.
Good. Okay, so we're at the top of the hour. So if you wouldn't mind jumping over to the Facebook stream and just posting on there what your takeaway was for today. What is the, you know, the one thing that you have learnt today? That would be much appreciated, so others can see some comments and then think, I really need to listen to this webinar. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And other than that, thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. Really, I love an engaging Q&A type of segment, and Charles is always willing to and generous with his time to provide us with some solutions. So thank you, Charles, for joining us today.
My pleasure. I hope it was useful, everyone. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Have a great day. See ya.
Thanks.